Hello, AP Computer Science. Welcome to day 5. Today we're going to talk about casting an instance of. This is a little shorter lesson today, and then we're going to move to a lab tomorrow. We're going to start building these things. Today we're going to be talking about these vocab words of upcasting and downcasting, instance of. These are all things that you've seen before, but we're just like formalizing them a little bit more. And then there's a worksheet that you're going to practice through, and there's a video so that you can go through and check your answers and make sure you have it all. Okay, so this is the same object hierarchy that we saw yesterday and that we implemented a portion of it. Vertebrae is the top of our object hierarchy, and then there are fish, birds, and mammals that extend that, and then we have, bluefish and so forth that extend those. And then at the very bottom, we have interfaces that define some methods and different of the objects like cows, penguins, and batfish implement the walking animal interface. Okay, so let's pretend we instantiate a cow. So we say new cow, and we assign it to a new variable called v that's of type vertebrae. That's perfectly legal because a cow is a vertebrae, right? And then let's say we want to say v.walk. Well, hopefully you're like, hey, that doesn't compile because not all vertebrae walk, right? And the compiler doesn't know, because v is of type vertebrae, that v can walk, right? V is a cow, so v can walk, but the compiler doesn't know that because v is currently a vertebrae. And the way we get around this is by doing what's called downcasting. We will say, okay, v is actually a cow. We put in the parentheses and say v is actually a cow, and then do .walk from that. If this is incorrect at runtime, this will give us a runtime exception. We've talked about that before. Now, the question is, why is it downcasting? Very simple. We typically draw these trees where the most general class at the top and the more specific class are at the bottom. So we're casting down from more general to more specific. So very simple to just remember, it's just going down the tree. So that's called downcasting. An alternative solution would not to be to cast to a cow. You could also cast to a walking animal, because v is actually a walking animal, because a cow is a walking animal. So you could cast to a walking animal, and then walking animals, of course, can walk. Once you're a walking animal, you wouldn't have other behaviors of a cow, like celebrate life, which is a mammal behavior. So perfect, there is downcasting. The opposite direction is called upcasting. So let's say we create a cow object and assign it to a variable c of type cow. We could call celebrate life, so that's defined up at the mammal level. So we could cast our c to a mammal and then call celebrate life. Now, this is legal, but totally unnecessary, because a cow is already a mammal and you already have access to all the behaviors of a mammal. There's no reason to do upcasting. So again, it's called upcasting because we're casting up the tree. But it's not necessary. It's much simpler and more, I would say, more correct if you just leave out the cast and just say c.celebrate life. Finally, last thing, instance of. We've seen this before. An instance of is a Boolean operator, or it's an operator that returns a Boolean value. And so let's say we have, again, similar example, a cow that we created, and it's of type, and we're going to assign it to a variable called v, and it's a type vertebrae. And let's do a bunch of prints. So each of these prints is either going to print a true or a false. So let's go through these. So is v an instance of a vertebrae? Well, v is of type vertebrae, so certainly that is true. Is v an instance of a mammal? Well, a cow is a mammal, that's a vertebrae. So yes, since it's a cow, it's also a mammal. Is v an instance of a fish? No, silly, cows are not fish, right? And the way we can tell that is that there's nothing between cow and vertebrae where it says fish. Is v an instance of a cow? Yes, that's what we created to begin with. Is v a flying animal? No, cows do not fly. This is probably the most interesting one. Is v an instance of object? Well, all classes in Java extend object, so the answer is true. This will be true for all objects. And finally, is it a walking animal? Yes, you can do this for interfaces as well. So v is an instance of a walking animal. We typically use instance of to protect any casts that we're going to do. So if we're thinking about casting a variable to something, but we want to make sure that it's legal, we can do instance of first to make sure it'll work. So at this point, you have a worksheet. So just go look in the folder, grab the worksheet. You can go through it and give it a try, and then go through the video to check your answers. Good luck. Stay in touch.